Yeah. But no, it's funny. I always sit back this time of year, look back at the first half of the season, and it's like taking away some like I won two races, which is great. Um, but you often focus on the oh, but I didn't win yellow, but I didn't win unbound. And again, I think that is just the thing with being an elite athlete. You kind of focus just as much on the failures as you do the successes, for better or worse.
Um, uh, yeah, I don't think it's been an elite athlete. I think that's how you see the world, and um, you don't need to be an elite athlete to see the world that way. Um, but some people do see the world that way, uh, which like takes us nicely to spotlight. I mean, like you would react differently to success and failure than other people. Like we all do it differently, and um, I don't know, like when you last had a chance to look at your spotlight profile, but I was looking at it before the call, and I was really curious about the resilience thing. It's interesting that our conversation around Unbound is kind of really a perfect example of well, Redlands and Unbound. Redlands for different reasons. Redlands a really good example of how following a success, you like you would tend to have some preferences of yeah, possibly being willing to make sort of big calls, big decisions. There'll be a buzz of that success. Your self-belief would escalate. You might be prepared to adopt risky, like speculative approaches to get to reach your goals. Um, and following a setback. So, if you do focus on the things that are, well, like I might have won that, but I didn't win that, then it's interesting that like your preferences would be that you would quickly refocus on the next goal. Probably don't spend too much time thinking, what went wrong, like what was I responsible for? It's like, well, I just need to find something to blame for that experience and move on. And there might be even increased optimism about what comes next. It's like, well, right, that didn't go well. I need to blame something, and then next one will be even better. And so that with your spotlight profile, and we would all be different, of course. Um, there's definitely some things that it might be helpful for you to consider, like around, just reflecting, maybe trying to occupy that prudent space a little bit and think, oh, okay, like what have I not thought about that, could be on the horizon? I might need some support from other people to get through. Um, Definitely sort of reflecting on performances about what went wrong and again, like what support could I have got from other people? Um, so it might be interesting for you to, like have a read of that resilience page because you definitely had two resilience experiences. One where something went really well, and the other where something was like, oof, wow, uh, didn't quite go as I wanted it to go. Um, so yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah, and this year Unbound, it probably took me a week to think about it. Like I finished and I was kind of catastrophizing. And then I was like, I don't want to think about this. I just want to chill out. And it's all I've thought about for the last month, like what tires to use, how much training to do, time zones and travel, and then the race. It's like I need to go away for a week and not think about it and then come back to it. Because let's say the 8 hour drive from Kansas to where I was staying, there was a lot of kind of, oh, what if, what if, what if? And I was like, no, just forget about it and then we'll come back. Excuse me, we'll come back to it.
Yeah. You're definitely slowing down, like an 8 hour drive would be the perfect opportunity. Just slow down and think, rather than what if, it's like what things can I guard against in the future, especially when things seem to be going well. Um, because the what if game is you can't time travel back. That's just sort of flailing yourself. But thinking about, okay, well, you know, were there some errors of judgment that I might, want to think about guarding against in the future, possibly at Unbound, possibly at another event. especially when things are going well. I might be getting, I've won a time trial, right? Let's just go full throttle now. And, it's like, okay, maybe there's some things to learn, and just focus on the learnings, and rather than kind of beating yourself up. Easy to say, I know. Mm. When the competitive pressure kind of kicks in.
Yeah, with Unbound, it's also one of those. It's exacerbated because it's the biggest one of the year.
Yeah,
Everyone's there, and it's what everyone asks you about. So it's like it keeps going. But yeah, I think I'm kind of now at the point I'm back training again after a week off and or a week of just riding bike for fun. And it's like, right, it's time to reflect a little bit. I mean, there's a part of my brain every year which forgets how tough Unbound is, and I think that's really the part of the brain which allows me to keep going back every year as well. You've always got to forget how horrible it was the hour or two after,
yeah,
but equally, it's time to look back and reflect on it a little bit.
yeah,
It's kind of makes me think it would be easy to look at it and say you had a lucky race this year compared to the previous 2 years. But by the same token, you put a lot of prep into picking the right equipment, the right tires, the right nutrition, everything that you've learned from 2 years of bad luck. And so you kind of put yourself in the best possible place to, get lucky. So yeah, a good race from that point of view. As we said, it wasn't the outcome that you were hoping for.
better
Um,
performances. They were just better performances. Like
yeah,
you factored in the learnings from previous years, and this year's performance was better, which is yeah, which is great. That's all you need to do, right? Just steps forward. I mean, tell me about pressure. Like, at what points around something like Unbound or Redlands, for that matter, like where does the pressure come? Like,
With Unbound, I didn't really feel any pressure until I went to bed the night before, or maybe the day before. Like, I just put it out of my mind, and then it was when I went to go. We went down to the start, and I was like, "Oh, this is happening." But there's just this little feeling, but there was no external pressure at Unbound. I put it all on myself. Redlands is a very different story because I told the team I was riding for that I wanted to win, and everyone knew I wanted to win. And I was doing multiple recons of kind of this stage one to win, and everything was done almost. At Unbound, you can't afford to make mistakes because there's so many places you can put them right. In a 20-minute, 18-minute time trial, you can't make a single mistake. So, like, I kind of go into my shell a little bit when that happens. Um, but I suppose it was similar at Redlands. It was the day before.
yeah,
Like you kind of ignore it, and then it's like it just hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, oh, we're going.
yeah.
Which
I mean, it's essential to performance. Yeah, people talk about pressure as being a privilege. It's great that it comes when it does, because it's absolutely essential to your performance.
and
Um,
equally, I don't think I'd want it to come much earlier because then I think it go too far and it cause too much stress.
yeah. I mean, like my guidance around it would be is um, it's essential, but there are consequences of it, and we become like when we're under pressure, um, we become kind of more exaggerated in versions of our sort of mindset and behavior. We tend to lose adaptability. We get stuck. And so, you might find if you think back that there might have been periods when you're under pressure where you might become a bit insensitive to other people's feelings, and you might upset people a bit. Or I definitely hear when you're talking about Redlands, and the pressure from winning a time trial, actually. So that creates pressure for stage two. And then like that feeling of like having to then really aggressively chase results, taking chances. Um, and like maybe becoming a bit sort of defensive around like the decisions you're making. Would that that would be how your strengths would start to just become a bit overplayed when the pressure's on. And you definitely, if you look at your spotlight on the pressure page, you'll find a bit of a cheat code to dealing with it. And for your lead preferences, I'm sure you don't mind me saying, are like forcefully optimistic, and they are exclusively, in the spotlight. There's the other preferences are not in the spotlight. Doesn't mean you can't stretch into them, but um, it's not uncommon in my experience with elite athletes to have like very strong focus, optimistic, very task oriented. But the downside under pressure, you might overplay it. And so, the cheat code for you would be just resisting the urge to take action. Like, it's right, stage 2 tomorrow. We've got to make our mark. We've got to take control, take action early. Actually resisting that temptation and say, right, like what are the facts of the race right now? Just the facts, not what I want to happen or what I want to get carried away with or how I want to like impose myself. What are the facts right now? And then from there, consider like potential threats that you might have missed. Like it might be like, oh wow, like maybe the climbers are not strong. Maybe I could do with an extra climber. Damn, that could go wrong on me. So just then getting into that prudent space, which would not come that naturally to you. And then lastly, just try and walk in somebody else's shoes and think, right, what's the impact on the other riders here, or the other people who are associated with this moment of pressure. And bizarrely, that sounds like it's like, wow, that sounds like it'd be quite hard to do that. But actually, if you manage to get into those, you would actually be stepping into your least preferences, from a spotlight sort of mindset and behavior point of view, which will be prudent and empathic for you. Um, and that just releases all pressure instantly. Like, you can use that to manage like an unhealthy kind of level of pressure.
I
Um,
think in Redlands, especially because of the cars which I had in front of me, I was actually quite good at that. And I couldn't go for the whole gung-ho approach because I didn't have the team to back me up that you need in road racing. And equally, I knew on the radio I had to coach well them through it as much as possible because I needed to ask someone to go back and get me a bottle, or I needed someone to ride a brake back for me, which is not the normal thing I'm happy to ask for. But I mean, equally on the opposite to that, there was a point about 5K to go up the mountain, and it all hit the fan out of my control completely. The brake was under control, big crash, brake went out and got another couple of minutes. And it went from, we're going to close this gap and I feel like the strongest here, to, oh, this gap is not closing and I need to close it myself. But I just had my director in my ear on the radio, and he was like, Joe, you've got to go, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And I just yanked my radio out and was like, right, I'm on my own time now. And in hindsight, I said to him, I was like, Gasty, I'm sorry. Like, I told him to shut up and I pulled my radio out. But I was like, I knew what
Perfect
to do.
example. Like, it's like such a good example. So the first thing that I heard you say was like you factored in the facts of the race, like the cars in front of me, the strength of my team, like that's the facts. And I need to think what they're feeling right now. I'm going to have to coach them through it. Like, that's like getting into that. Like, these are the facts. This is what could go wrong. I need to then coach them. I need to care for them a little bit and imagine what they might be feeling like. That is perfect antidote to where you would preferentially go. So that's class. Equally interesting is like when the pressure really came on, you're like, this is just like locked in. It's the Joe show. I'm the only person that can save me around here. I don't need anybody. I just have to go it alone. Actually, you know, and there's times when that might work.
I mean, equally, there
Times
wasn't
it
any
won't.
three of us left in the race at that point. I dropped everyone else. So
So
yeah.
interesting though, isn't it? It's like two really good examples. I love it.
Yeah. And I think it's one thing at the bottom of the mountain when I'm feeling quite comfortable. I'm quite calm. There's a lot of oxygen in the air.
Less
And then,
pressure.
yeah, exactly 2.5 hours later, when you're at 2,500 meters, you've been racing for however long, there's more pressure. The race is riding away.
Yeah.
Um, it goes from, okay, we have time to let this play out and we have time to figure it out to I need to ride really hard for 4 kilometers and I don't want to hear from anyone. I just kind of want to hear the blood in my ears and that's it.
It's perfect. It's a perfect spotlighty example. Like pressure changes context, and our strengths play out differently in different contexts. And so this is a perfect example. Bottom of the mountain, that's a different context, and your strengths played out really effectively. Pressure comes on top of the mountain, and you get locked in. I'm not saying that like maybe it's like your strengths are in the sweet spot and you drop nearly everybody, and it could have worked out brilliantly. But it's just different context, and just being able to recognize like, am I overplaying? Yeah, no. Like having that self-awareness is well, it's top 2 inches stuff, right? That's the difference between like amazing performances. I'm not talking about results, performances and those performances that are getting close. But
That was
I'm
um,
sure
interesting
with,
with,
sorry,
I was going
go
to say stage two. I was more happy with my performance than I was stage one when I won.
yeah,
Like, I think I rode stage two pretty perfectly. Um, just the early break stayed away and we
yeah,
didn't get it back. But I crossed the line and I just shook my head. I was like,
yeah,
down, that was almost perfect. But
yeah. And what let the break get away the second time was a crash. It's
yeah,
like that's a external factors. You can't mitigate against that. So yeah,
yeah,
nice,
still,
great.
still annoys me though, Nick.
Yeah, just need to find somebody to blame, Joe.
Yeah. Idiot
John,
who
you're going to
crashed.
say something. You're going to say something.
just on the thing we talked about previously, is making me, uh, right, listening to you both there, is making me think that um, I'm sure from a business context, uh, most people have been through that experience as well. It's you've got a deadline approaching and you go through this phase. Well, maybe it's like responding to a tender, for instance. You go through a phase where it's all kind of incredibly collaborative. Um, but then it goes from acquiring helpful information to just noise, the DS shouting in your ear, and eventually somebody on that team
Yeah,
responsible for
exactly.
doing the tender will be pulling the earpiece out and just saying, "That's it. I've had enough. I'm just going to lock myself in a dark room and do it myself."
Yeah, 100%. So many parallels. Like when Joe was talking about Redlands and Unbound, it was just making me think about, you know, year and a half long sales pursuits, uh, context constantly shifting. And then something happens right at the end. And you've been told by your competition, it's like, yeah, we know you guys have won it. Like, you're in the final negotiation. And it's happened to me. Like final negotiations complete, and then something happened. And suddenly the whole result is in jeopardy. And all you can do in those situations is reflect on your performance and say, look, our performance is something we can be proud about. So let's just stay cool. We don't have to go and do something unnatural now. Let's like stay calm. Let's just see this play out now. Because our performance has been top draw. Happens so many times. So yeah, so many parallels. I was thinking it as we were talking. But yeah, I thought it was more of a bike conversation than a biz conversation. So I didn't say anything, but yeah, I was thinking. Yeah. And I might actually use that like as a metaphor. Like it's like a mountain stage. Like in any prolonged sales campaign, there's definitely, if it's a 120-mile stage, then there'll be 90 odd miles just going along the plains when people are probably not trying to kill each other. But as soon as the road turns up, things get lively, and that's when you need to be on it. So yeah, it's a good. I'm probably going to use it with somebody next week. I don't know why I didn't think of it before, but it's a good metaphor. Mm.
Yeah, it just remember it was a metaphor built off many, many watts and pain from my
Yeah.
Just picture me collapsing at the top of a mountain in California.
Nice. Good stuff. Good to catch up, Joe. And the sun has risen behind you as we've been talking.
Wonderful.
And now you're wide awake and you think, oh God, I wanted to go back to
I was
bed and
actually
get
just thinking
7 hours
this.
sleep, but now it's too late.
I was like, I might just have breakfast, do an early ride, and then have a early afternoon nap
Yeah,
in my athlete style.
yeah. Well, athlete style is my old man style as well, mate. I love that. It's great. All right, fellas, I'm going to go and get some dinner. It's 8:30 in the evening here in Malaysia, so it's time to get something to eat. Have a great day, Joe and John. See your day out strong.
Yep, will do.
See you
All right.
guys
All right.
later.
Take
See you
care, guys.
later.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.